if they're going to the refocus room and there's an adult supervising and helping, the adult can't just start asking them questions right away. Why'd you do that? Or why are you here? And how are you going to fix it? You got to give them time to regulate first.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Quick Bites. I am Ginger Lewman with the ESSDACK Resilience Team, and I'm here with my colleague who, sadly, this might be one of his last episodes with us because Eric Nachtigal, thanks for being here, is going to be moving on to the next chapter of his life. Eric, welcome to retirement.
Thank you. If we're checking in with real quick with Mad, Sad, Glad, and Afraid, there's some sad, there's some glad, and there's some afraid in there. So for all different reasons, which won't go into right now, but thank you, and comes with a lot of emotions.
Yeah. You leaving comes along with a lot of emotions for me, too.
Thank you.
But we're going to enjoy these last few episodes so that he's not gone right away. So you guys get to enjoy him for a few minutes longer. And also you can always rewind and listen to Eric's brilliant wisdom on previous episodes. And if you haven't, make sure you hit a subscribe or share it with somebody who wants to have some parts of Eric's wisdom as well. Hey, though, Eric, I want to dive into today's conversation. I know that there are people who like calm rooms or refocus rooms, whatever you want to call them. I also know that there are places where they are mixed results. Like some of them aren't so great, but some of them work really well. And if somebody wants to build one, or rebuild one, what do we want to keep in mind when we're building that?
Well, I'm going to come at this from a couple angles.
Good.
And I am going to straight up come at it, one, from the wisdom and what the amazing Ginger Lewman has taught me on many occasions, and combined with a recent book that I've recently read, and you went to hear him in person, a guy named Dr. Ross Greene, the book, The Kids Who Aren't Okay. He uses a term called sometimes we're doing things late. And I would say he might put a refocus room, calm corner in a classroom, refocus room. He might label that as we're late to solving the problem. So I'm going to just put that out there. Read the book, folks. It's a must read for educators. And I get why he says it's late, because we haven't solved the problem and the student's still getting frustrated and dysregulated. So the refocus room, in a nutshell, could be considered a late strategy intervention. Now, I also know, because I've listened to Ginger with things, and she's 100% correct on this, is that we can't go in education from this way to this way without honoring the in-between for a while as we make that change and transition.
The messy middle.
So if we want to not do late practices and start solving unsolved problems and not use these interventions that are too late, there's got to be this in-between time. Yeah. So I'm coming at it from that angle. Does that make sense to you?
Well, it does to me, because I'm familiar with what you're talking about. Some people might not be familiar, if I may. So I got the opportunity with Carmen Zeisler to go to Manhattan and listen in on a day's worth of conversation with Ross Greene. And what Eric's talking about is being late to the intervention. Is what he's talking about is when kids have behaviors, they're communicating something. We know this. And what they're communicating is that there's an unmet need in the kid. There's something that they're not getting. And that unmet need comes from an unsolved problem.
Yes.
There's a problem out in the world and we're not getting our needs met. And so we're saying, either our bodies are saying, or we're saying, hey, there's a problem here, which turns out to be, and oftentimes look like, a behavior.
Yes.
And then all of these interventions that we do in this work and in this world, not all of them, but a lot of them, are responding to the behavior, not to the unmet need, the unsolved problem.
And they're well-intended.
Sure,
They're
absolutely.
super well-intended, and we want to support the kid.
Yes. Because that's what seems to be getting in the kid's way. Yeah. And so things like calm corners or refocus spaces, those are dealing directly with the behavior and not necessarily solving the unmet need. Could they? They could.
It
right?
could be a part of it.
If it is something that actually is able to, but not all of them are. So when you say that he might not, or he might label these as late, he 100% labels them as late. He called them out straight out within the first 5 minutes, and Carmen and I looked at each other and we thought, oh, and I was hooked for the day.
Yeah. I believe that. See, when I heard it for the first time, it kind of ruffled my feathers a little bit. 'Cause I'm like, well, wait a minute. These are good, well-intended, helpful practices. And again, when you dive into it, okay, I get what he's saying, because I don't interpret now as like all these are just not good, but hey, there's something more we can be doing. So the way I'm looking at it this way, like a refocus type room. Like in that in between, we do need to work harder or need to work smarter or just take upon this practice of helping kids solve their unsolved problems instead of just addressing the exact behavior we're seeing above the iceberg. Because if we can help solve the unsolved problems with them, that's a big word.
There you go.
With
there you go.
them.
Yeah, the kid can't do it alone.
Yeah.
Otherwise they would have.
Again, Dr. Ross Greene has a process, collaborative problem solving plan B, which is a whole other quick bite podcast. But it's all about, the big thing takeaway to me is we're problem solving with them. We're not just setting up a plan with no input from the student. We're doing it with them. Now, if a student to solve an unsolved problem, and they come up with the idea, hey, I might need to calm down and to kind of transition successfully from recess to learning. I might need to go to the refocus room for 5 minutes and then come in and do my math. To me, that's a whole different story, because it could be part of their solution and help them be successful. When you have a refocus room or a refocus room where kids can choose, and part of their plan, maybe their plan B or other plans, it has to also be set up correctly. Because you mentioned at the beginning, some of them don't seem to work. Well, maybe one of the reasons they're not 100% working, and another gentleman who has brilliant work, Dr. Bruce Perry, if a student is dysregulated or in their downstairs brain and they need to go to a place where they can refocus and get back in their upstairs brain, it has to be set up with the brain research in mind. Yes. We're trying to get them from their downstairs brain back into their upstairs brain so they can reason, so they can be ready to learn, so they can be calm, so they can be regulated, think rationally. So you have to follow that brain research of Dr. Bruce Perry of start with regulation. If they're going to the refocus room and there's an adult supervising and helping, the adult can't just start asking them questions right away. Why'd you do that? Or why are you here? And how are you going to fix it? You got to give them time to regulate first. So they got to give them time. Maybe there's some tools in there that they can regulate. Maybe there's soft music. Maybe there's whatever, drawing, a puzzle. So give them a moment to regulate. Then model some regulation, co-regulate with them, do some breathing with them, just be in their vicinity, do some co-regulating with them. And then Dr. Bruce Perry talks about then when the child, you can sense maybe by just they're starting to talk a few phrases, they're maybe not acting out if they came in acting out, whatever, you can start to sense that, okay, they're starting to climb that metaphorical ladder in their brain back up to the upstairs brain. Relate to them. Kind of reestablish you're safe. I'm here to help. Make sure they start to feel that. Just dig into that relationship just a little. So regulate, relate, co-regulate in there. Go ahead. Yeah,
and that relate isn't necessarily like, I feel like what you felt before. That's not what that it is. It's more like, I see that you might be, or how might you be feeling? How might you, that we're connecting with what's going on in them rather than connecting us to them. That's not the relate. Yeah.
And it's in that moment with that, as you co-regulate with them, just regulate, and they get into that relate, you're starting to have maybe an opportunity to also check in with their feelings. Maybe that's a time to do mad, sad, glad, and afraid, and just listen to them. I mean, that doesn't mean we have to agree with whatever maybe behavior happened, but we can validate that, oh, I see why you might have felt that way.
You're feeling a thing right now, and that makes sense that you would feel that when that happened.
Talk about how was that mad, sad, glad, and afraid. So give them a moment to do that as you relate to them. And as this progresses, and I will say it truly is different amount of time for every kid.
Yes.
It is so individual. It's not, and I know this is the hard part. Educators, I get it. I've lived it. I know it. sometimes we think, I don't have 35 minutes to help this kid. Well, you might not have 35 minutes, but if we don't do it right, you're going to be right back and it's going to take longer.
Yeah.
So, and some kids might do 10 minutes. I mean, just every kid's individual. So we just have to be prepared and have the procedures and processes set up and the support in the school to help with that. But once we get that regulate, co-regulate, relate, when we get to the point where we can start maybe reasoning a little bit, maybe what happened, use some restorative questions. Mm-hmm. How are we going to repair any harm or disruption to the community? Maybe even talk through when we go back to the classroom, when we rejoin our class. What's that conversation going to be like with your teacher? How are we going to repair that so we can be ready to rejoin the community? And maybe that's something we just take care of there before we enter, but maybe it's a bigger plan of repairing harm. Maybe something we do need to do with the classroom or a few students or something like that. But you got to get that regulate, repair, relate, things like that, and then get ready to head back to your classroom. But again, a refocus room needs to be set up correctly so it's researched, it follows that brain research. Again, I'd refer you to Dr. Bruce Perry's work, regulate, relate, reason. Regulate, relate, reason, restore, repair the harm. Sorry, I had to make sure I got all my R's right there coming out of there. I would say throw in there, know as the adult, have familiarity with co-regulation, because I think that plays an important part too.
We have to be in a space where we are ready to receive a kid who's feeling something and not react to it and just allow that to be their reality while still maintaining our own regulation and calm.
Yeah. And as we wrap this little quick bite, so I don't go into long bites, quick bites. The other thing I would say in there is that sometimes we might have to do coaching if we are monitoring or helping with the refocus room, or if our role is to do that. We also might have to have a quick conversation or some advanced training for the staff in your building who are getting ready to accept the student back.
For sure.
Because that doesn't always go perfectly if we don't have the mindset to, okay, I'm ready to accept the student back. I'm ready to have a conversation. I'm ready to talk about the restore. Because sometimes that can go a little wonky, and then the student is, escalated again. So that's another point to consider. Yeah,
if the kid's going back into a classroom where a teacher is dysregulated and doesn't understand the process, oh, look, they just went to this room and they played with some toys and they got some mince or jerky and then they just came back and gosh, that must be a nice little vacation for them. And I need them to be over here and get their work done and do what they're supposed to do. And if that's the reception that the kid coming back is receiving, there's probably not going to be a lot of long-term change.
Might not go well. So, moving pieces in there, but there are aspects that can make it more successful. Give it the opportunity to be more successful for helping kids. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate, and I hope everybody else did as well, your take on how that might look and really intentionality in building these spaces, because when they're working, they are magical.
Yeah.
They're magical. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Ginger Lewman for the ESSDACK Resilience Team, and we'll catch you on the next Quick Bite.